Hey YouTubers, this is Ben with True Cable, and let's get started. So in this video, we're going to discuss some of the different features, some of the different applications used in a VFL, as well as what kind of VFL do I need to buy. So stay tuned. So first we want to talk about some of the different types of VFLs that are out there on the market. And there's various different ones. You're going to find various different ones for sale at different retail outlets, some of the big online retail locations as well. It's very important though that when choosing a VFL, you choose one that works right for the application that you're using. Now in most cases, a standard VFL, visual fault locator, at about 5 milliwatts or less is all you really need. You're going to find in a lot of these big locations that sell different products online, they're going to sell 15 watt and 30 watt VFLs. Those are really not needed, especially in a data center, enterprise, or a residential application. There are some applications perhaps where those might be used, but for the most part, 5 milliwatts or less is going to give you plenty of distance. Multi-mode is going to give you up to 3 kilometers of length to test your fiber optic cable. Single mode up to 4 kilometers of length, and that's really plenty of length in order to really do a proper test with your VFL. So why is it important to look at some of the smaller end VFLs in terms of power? Well, if you look at some of the higher ones, 15 and 30 watts, typically these ones are not actually FDA approved. A lot of times they won't have the warning information on them, and of course this being a laser light, you could be susceptible to damage if you shine that into your eye, possibly. So those are important things to think about. The other thing about the different types of VFLs on the higher spectrum is that it's just not needed. There's just no use for it. It can just be, overall, it's just overkill in terms of what's needed. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go into and look at some of the different applications that we would be using a VFL for. And so there's various things that we can use it for. And really the simplest thing is to use it to verify that a cable has light coming in one end and exiting the other end. And so with this particular VFL we're going to use here as a demonstration, we'll go ahead and turn it on. And it's going to give us some different feedback when we use it as a test tool. So just really quickly, some of the key features or use cases of a VFL is that we're able to quickly identify a fiber optic cable using it. So that's very important. We want to be able to identify a fiber optic cable. If we're using a duplex cable, we can verify that we are looking at the polarity correctly. So if the polarity needs to be checked at both ends of the fiber, we use it for that as well. We can also use it to identify different connections in our patch panel. So we may have a fiber cable out at the wall plate going back to the patch panel, and we need to verify that we're getting a clear light signal from point A to point B, and we'll use the VFL for that. We also use the VFL to diagnose bends or bad splices in a fiber optic cable. And so if the cable is bent too much, we'll be able to see that there's light escaping out of the cable, and that will give us an indication. If a cable is spliced or a connector is put on incorrectly, those two are ways to identify whether we're losing too much light or we have an issue in that connection point. VFL is extremely important to diagnose those issues as well. So we're going to go ahead now and we're going to look at some of the ways that we can use this VFL. And we got a few different fiber optic cables here that we're going to do some demonstrations with to show how we would diagnose some of these issues that we spoke of previously using this VFL tool. So first off here, we've got an SC cable with SC connectors. Now these tools, these VFL detectors, typically come stock with a SC plug, and you can add an adapter that allows you to connect to an LC connector. So this little adapter would just simply pop off. You would add it to the tool like that, and now you could test for an LC connector. But for demonstration purposes, today we're going to show it first off using the SC connector. So here we have an SC connector, and if I bring this cable over here, if we were to take this and we were to shine it into the connector like this, we would be able to see light coming out through the far end connector, as we can see here. This here indicates and tells us that we've got a nice clear connection going from point A to point B. And so this can tell us whether we have a clean connection. It can tell us whether our polarity is correct, as well as if we have any sharp bends or breaks. Now, if I was to take this here and I was to start bending this cable and continue to bend it more, we would start to see light show up, as you can see there, the red where my finger is, as it's escaping. That would indicate that too much light is being lost at that point, and that would be an issue. That can happen in a real world environment, in a real installation, where a cable might be bent too tightly around a corner, or it's in a patch panel and it's being bent too tightly as it goes into the adapter. All of those types of things could potentially cause that kind of a problem. So that's one way of using the VFL, a demonstration. Another way is to test a fiber optic cable to see if the pigtail, which is what we have here, or if an actual connectorized cable is functioning properly. So we can slide it in here to our SC connection, and we can see that coming out the end of that fiber there, cable, we can see light passing through. And if we look along the length of the cable, as long as we don't see a bunch of light escaping in any specific spot, we can determine that that cable is good. Now we will see here, right outside of the connector, we see a little bit of a light loss. That's normal. We'll see some of that happen. But if it becomes really drastic, like that, where you can really see a lot of light, that means that our connector is having issues, or our cable is having issues. Now, in some cases, we might be testing a cable that is black in color. Now, how do we test one of these types of cables? Because you can't really see the light being escaping from the jacket itself because it's a dark black color. Well, it is possible that we would test it like normal, where we would connect it up and we would use just the far end to determine that we were getting sufficient light out of the connector at the far end. And in some cases, if this cable is bent hard enough, now it's got to really be bent super hard, and that would be bad. But if it's bent hard enough, light could be seen escaping out of this black jacket. It's very difficult to pinpoint, and it's not always the case. And so 9 times out of 10, when you're diagnosing a fiber optic cable that is using a black jacket, you're simply looking at the connector end to verify that there's no light being lost out of the connector, and you're looking at the far end at the connector to verify that there's no loss there. So it's a little bit limited when it comes to a black cable jacket, but luckily with black cable jackets are less common in data center enterprise indoor applications where these VFLs are typically used. Now the last one that we want to look at is we want to talk about what it might look like in a patch panel scenario. So here I've got just a regular fiber optic adapter, an LC adapter, and so we're going to go ahead and pop on our little LC adapter onto the VFL. So now it's set for us to look at LC connections. And we're going to disconnect these here. And say, for instance, we need to identify which fiber connection is the left or right connection in a patch panel. Well, we can simply pop this VFL onto the fiber optic end face at the far end, and if we look to the side, we can see light escaping through that adapter. Now, this is a real key reason why using some of these higher powered VFLs are not recommended, because in this case you're looking and you're seeing the light, but that's not going to harm you. It's not going to damage anything because this is a low power VFL, 5 milliwatts or less. It's still going to do the job needed perfectly fine, but not going to cause any problems or damage to your eyes. So that's some of the key important things in terms of using a VFL, the applications that we might find in using a VFL for the various different fiber optic testing solutions. So just to recap, when using or purchasing a VFL, ensure that the VFL that you're purchasing is in the lower power rating, 5 milliwatts or less. It's going to be a much better VFL, visual fault locator, to use, as well as it's going to be less damaging to potentially your eye if you were to shine it in there. And it's really all that's needed. A lot of these higher powered VFLs, like this one here, way too powerful, not FDA classified, and just will not a good all-around VFL to use. When testing with your VFL, ensure that you're plugging it directly into the end face of the connector, making sure that you're checking the connection end face, the boot of the connector to see if there's any light loss there, as well as at the far end of the connector to make sure that there's adequate light being exposed at the far end. And one way to kind of real quickly to verify that is you might shine it down on a duplex connection, one end, and it might be really bright, and then you shine it down the other end and it's really, really light. That's another indicator that you may have an issue. So all of these different ways will help you to be able to really diagnose your fiber optic cable in a very simplistic way and a real basic way to kind of start your diagnosis if you think there's an issue. If you determine there's an issue, then you can always step to the next, where you're using a certification tool of an OTDR to do further testing and investigation into the actual loss behind the connectors and if there's any long-term or further out issues with your fiber optic cabling installation. So I want to thank you. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and please check out our other videos and blogs at on our Cable Academy. And happy networking.
I hope you enjoyed that fiber video. Interested in learning more? Please check out either our Cable Academy up here, and if you really want to see more, check them out here.